Hello, Ian here from Dark Blaze Workshop. Welcome back to another video. This one we're doing the elves, Dobby and Kreacher. Okay, so I'm going to be painting Dobby and Kreacher at the same time, so I'll be swapping in between both of them. I usually use Citadel's Cadian Flesh and then Kislev Flesh, but I wanted to use this one because it's got, I think it's got more of a pinky reddy tone than the Citadel ones. And having a look at the box art and pictures online, I think it might be a good fit. So we're going to start off with that, and as usual, it's 50-50 paint and water, because we're going for about 2 to 3 thin coats. I think if I seem to remember, he's got quite a dark kind of t-shirt or whatever he's wearing. Clothing. Let's just keep it simple. He's wearing clothing. It's going to be like a dark blue colour, so I think it'll bring out the skin tone quite nicely if it's a nice if we get a nice opaque layer to it, it'll stand out against the blue. So I'll carry on with the rest of that, and probably Dobby too off the camera. Maybe do a second coat, we'll see. Yeah, we will do a second coat because it's not covering everything. So when it's dry, we'll make a start on the vests. Right, so that's 2 coats of the skin tone. Apologies for the noise, it's raining yet again. What I've done, or what I'm about to do, is to add a glaze of this Braineater Azure. It's a mix. It's like a lilac-y kind of blue, desaturated kind of colour, and I think it'll look good as a shade on these, for the recesses and the temples and the toes, and just to give it a, magical kind of skin colour. So this will just stay in the recesses, and we'll go over the top of it again with another coat of the skin tone. So we just leave this in the shadows. And I'm thinking about doing a purple glaze for the eye sockets and stuff like that, but we'll see how it goes. And don't forget the temples at the side. You can see what it's like after the first coat, and if you feel like you could go another coat, go for it. It's looking like we may need another coat on this, so just try and build it up. You don't want a slap, a stronger mix on, just keep it really thin, just build it up gradually. I'll try and show you the consistency of the paint on the other side of the base. It's barely going to make a difference. So and you can start to see it come in there on the second coat. So that's the kind of consistency that you're after. I'll leave this dry, and I'll probably do another coat, but when the second coat, I'll just stick to the shadow areas, you know, like the backs of the knees and the ankles. And the back of the neck there and the back of the ears. I really want to focus on the temples and the eyebrows and the cheeks. Not so much the ears, I think, because we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So that's a couple of glazes of the Azure. I'm now going in with a glaze of the Druchii Violet or Druchii or what, I don't know what it's called. The purple wash from Citadel. But I'm just going to focus on the eye sockets, you know, underneath the eyes and in that bit in the nose. And the line that runs from the nose above the top lip. So same on this side, down here, and the side of the nose and the bridge there. Oh my god. Get those frown lines there too. Maybe the hands. Okay, I don't want to go too heavy because yeah, I'm just after a subtle tone change. So yeah, I'll leave it there for now, and I'll come back to the next stage when it's dry. Okay, so I'm going to make a start on Dobby's vest. I'm going to use my favourite greys, Warpfiend grey and Slaanesh grey. I love these ones. I use it for everything. I'm probably going to use it with Dumbledore too. But it's just a basic layer on, and we'll give it 2 coats before we start highlighting. I'll start the highlights on the vest now. Got a 50-50 mix of Warpfiend and Slaanesh, and I'm just staying on the top parts of the creases for now. You notice I haven't done any shadows yet. I don't think it actually needs it, but we'll have to see how it goes, guys. So I'm just following all the creases now. I'll do the same on the back and we'll let it dry. It's coming in for a second coat of the 50-50 mix now. And I'm staying towards the top of the folds. You notice the painted. So I've added some more Slaanesh grey to the mix. It's not quite pure Slaanesh grey. I just want to point out, if you're looking at the eyes and the face, don't worry about it yet. We'll sort that out. It does look pretty bad, but that's just because we've put a wash on it. We will correct it. So again, I'm just staying on the creases, and I'm covering less and less an area of the crease. I think this is the second coat I've done on this with this mix. Okay, might need another layer, but we'll see what it's like when it's dry. Okay, so this is the highlight with just pure Slaanesh grey. I'm staying up the top of the folds now. using a thinner point on the brush. I'll build this up over a couple of layers. Oh, starting to get there. Looking good. I've already done the back. That's a bit stark there. Okay, ready for the final highlight when that's dry. Okay, so for the final highlights now, I'm adding in this stuff, super white. It's amazing. What I like about it is that it's already fairly dilute. Yeah, it's got a high pigment, but if you just put a little blob on your wet palette and dilute it with some water, you can add it into your, well, whatever your last highlight mix is, just to lighten it again, and it's amazing stuff. So that's what I've done. I've added the white into the pure Slaanesh grey, and I've added a little bit more water, so it's nice and thin. I'm thinking it may be too thin, but we'll see. It might be okay. And I'm getting rid of the excess on my brush because I don't want it flooding. Might refocus. That's a bit better. Right. I had to get the white ink online. Can't remember where it was from. SAA Arts. If I find it, I'll put a link in. But this is very thin. I'm staying up the top parts of the folds. I really like this stuff for highlights. You see, I've done the back already. I'm going to do a second coat. See, that one looks really bright to me. I don't know whether that's coming across on camera. I don't want it that bright. Yeah, this part here should be brighter. So I might do a few coats on here just to try and correct it. See if you think the light's coming from above. It's bound to be lighter than further down, isn't it? Okay. Alright. Let's wait for that to dry. Okay, so we're getting there. What I've done, I've gone back to the Warpfiend grey and added a tiny bit of, I think it was Nagaroth Night. It's like a dark purple, and I made a really thin glaze, and I've just gone into the shadow areas of the cloth again, just to re-establish some of the shadows and darken it a bit, so we got a nice bit of contrast going on there now. Yeah, it's looking quite nice. So when we get the skin done, it should look half decent. Right, cloth is done. I'm going to start on the skin. This is a sneaky peek of the skin I've already done with Dobby. It's the Vallejo's basic skin tone, but I added a little bit of purple to it for the first coat. Then I did the skin tone on its own, and then for the highlights it's light flash, and it gives quite a pleasing effect really. So I'm glad I went with that one actually. So yeah, we'll crack on. I'll show you how I did it by painting Kreacher now. Okay, so the first coat is going to be the skin tone with, or the basic skin tone with a little bit of purple in it. you can still see the shadows that we created, so I want to get rid of that first of all, because I want the highlights right at the top of the joint. So I'll keep the shadow in the bottom of that muscle group, but I want the highlight to be at the start of this muscle. So I need to get rid of that little bit of shadow first. Top of the deltoid now. Top of the biceps. I'll come down to about there, but I'll push the pigment up a bit, so I'm trying to get a transition there. On the side of my brush down the thumb. You can build it up over a couple of coats. But you want to keep that little bit of shadow in there, you see. And at the bottom of the deltoid you can see it. Okay, so I'm going in with another coat now, so I'm staying up the top of the bicep. I've got to say this is quite thin paint. So I'm just going to try another coat of that now. So the top of the bicep, and the top of the forearm, and I'm pushing in towards the shadow, and the deltoid. It's the same here. If you go to the top of the thigh, and again on the kneecap, and then there's like a muscle here as well, so I'll highlight that. I want this side to stay in a shadow. Okay, so I'll do the rest off camera. So I'm going to do another coat now. Just to let you know about the consistency of the paint I'm using. It's quite thin, so when I stroke it across you can only just see it at the end of the stroke. You won't necessarily see it at the start, but you'll see it towards the end. And that's where I want the pigment to end up. So this is your shadow area, or the shadow area is over here, and I'm pulling it into the highlight area. That's where I want my highlight to be. So I'm going to do that on the top of the head now, because I want it nice and light on the top of the crown. So I'm pulling the paint from down the side of the head up towards the crown. And don't worry if it looks too bright to start with, because it will tone down a bit when it dries. On the top of the ears. And this is still the same coat, so I'm going to use it to build up the layers around the other parts of the skin, the other muscle groups. So pulling it up towards the shirt. The kneecaps. I'm going to do the outsides here because I want the insides to be in shadows, and then the toes on the top of the feet. So I'm ready to go on to the next colour, which is the basic skin tone on its own. Okay, so I've switched to a 0 size brush now, and I'm going in with the skin tone, basic skin tone. Still quite thin. The reason I've gone to a smaller brush is because, you know, the cheekbone there, I want to do small strokes starting at the temple but pulling the pigment down onto the cheekbone. Just to define that highlight. And I'm pushing the paint up towards the bridge of the nose there. Moustache. On that line, and I'm pulling the pigment down to the jawline. These are tiny strokes now, but they will be worth it. Same again, pulling down. And down. I'll do the same then for all the muscle groups, but working in smaller areas now. So I'll do the bicep, but I won't go down as far as I did last time. I'll go about halfway down the muscle. Stay at the top of the deltoid, and I'll just highlight that part of the forearm. I'm not going to go inside because that'll be in shadow, so I'll go outside. Thumb, kneecap, just the outside, and I'll go down a little bit. All of this is starting to build up a nice transition now into the shadows. And of course the top of the head, so I'll go a smaller area again and I'll pull it towards the top of the scalp. So you get a nice pool of pigment on the top of his head then. Okay, so final highlight now is the light flesh, and it's quite thin. I've got a load on my brush so you probably see it, but very thin. So I'm just going that last bit on the nose. I'll do the eyebrows. I like to do a little line there. Don't ask me why, but it does look good. And I'm just like stippling or dotting the paint along that cheek bone line. I'll pick out that line on the top of the moustache. A little bit on the top of the chin there. And I'll do this about 2 or 3 times so I start to see the highlight come in. I'll do just a line there, like we did on previous tutorials, just a white, really light line at the top of the highlight area. It's just like it reinforces it and makes it stand out that little bit more. So I'll do a couple more coats and we'll come back when it's dry. So our final highlight now. I'm just going over, hopefully you can see the areas where I've been. So it's just the top of the eyebrow there, a little line down and a little line back towards the scalp, top of the ear, cheekbone, that line, and just do a little dot at the top of where the moustache would sit, and a little bit on the pointy bit of the jaw, top of the chin, bridge of the nose. I think we're done. Might do a little bit more on the absolute top of the scalp, but it's looking quite good. So I'll do the eyes and I'll do the vest after that. But once the vest, I'm going to do the vest quite dark, so skin tone should really show nicely once the vest is painted. Perhaps I'll do the vest first. So for the vest, I'm using Kantor blue. I've already done one coat, as you can see, and I've started on the second one, and the skin is more obviously brighter, which is good because that's what I was after. So yeah, I don't think we'll need any more coats, just 2 coats of the blue. Right, my apologies, but I had to do the eyes off a camera because I can't I need to be really close into the eyes, and I can't do that because of the situation with the camera and the lighting. But basically what I did was a white circle for the eye, and then a light blue circle, and then a little dab of black for the pupil. There's no real need to do it, I just fancied it and it sort of came off. Didn't work so well on that side because it's slightly miscast and the jaw's all over the place as well, but it is doable. If I think I was using a size 0 brush with a lovely point on it, it probably looks shocking on camera, but on the table I think it looks pretty good. You can't really judge it when it's blown out. To such a big proportion on the screen. You to think you're looking at something that's less than an inch high, and those eyes are a couple of millimeters. They look pretty good. So Dobby's done. I'm pretty happy with the skin. I just need to outline between the vest and the skin. Maybe a dark grey or maybe even a black, we'll see. But that just needs defining then. And he's finished. Whereas Kreacher, the vest has dried nicely. I'm just going to highlight it up with some lighter blues, exactly the same method that we used on Dobby, but with lighter blues. Once I decide what kind of blues I'm going to be using, I think it'll be Altdorf Guard Blue. I use that one, and then I'll probably add a little bit of light grey to it to pick out the highlights. And I'll come back when I've done that. Okay, so that's the highlights done on Kreacher's vest. Yeah, I used the Altdorf Guard Blue, but then for the highlights I added in some light grey. It's probably more of a Fenris grey kind of, light bluey grey kind of colour. Or to save time just using that, but I mixed it myself. So yeah, fairly happy with that one as well. I'll get them based and we'll do a wrap up. Okay, so Dobby's finished. Had a slight drama pulling him off the other base. His legs snapped just above the ankles, both of them. Managed to glue them back in okay though. They shouldn't need a pin, I think they'll be okay. And there's Kreacher there. So there we are, that's the end of that episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Try out the different skin recipes, because I might try this one for Snape as well, because it's quite a nice tone to it. It's a bit different from your Cadian flesh and your Kislev flesh because there's more yellow in it, as I said before. But yes, quite a pleasing finish to that one. So yeah, thanks for watching. Any questions, as usual, get involved in the comments, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.